Welcome back to the room with Pastor Cal Cope and Lex.
The room where what happens?
We make room to hear each other's heart.
Now, Lex, are you ready to share your heart today?
We will find out.
Hey, listen, it's important to know that some days you don't want to share your heart. You know, it's not a science; it's an art form, and so trying to make sure that we have an atmosphere where, as often as possible, our hearts are being heard, and we feel comfortable sharing it is probably what's most important.
Yes.
But now we're going to talk about something today. What is it you got me talking about today?
We're going to talk about singleness versus being alone. So that conversation that always comes up, like in Christian life, it's not good for man to be alone.
Yeah, because that's the first thing that God said about man, not to man, but about man, is that it's not good for man to be alone. And so we're going to talk about the difference between being alone and being single.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So before we do that, though, it is March Madness.
It sure is the best time of the year.
So how obliterated is your bracket?
It's gone. Like, we have a competition at work. I'm tied for second, but like everyone's like, we have our teams playing. Like, whoever's team wins is going to be out. We're going by the points. Whoever has the most points.
Gotcha.
But it's I don't have many options left.
Yeah.
all these teams are getting knocked out.
So now, do you do a bracket for the guys and the girls at work?
We do.
You guys do. Okay.
Well, this is the first time we've done it, but most of my coworkers don't really follow girls, so I'm making up points on the girls' side.
Oh, so you're doing both brackets, and it's all one set of points.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, here we just do the girls bracket. And then I've got my neighbors. I got one neighbor who he tries to watch every single March Madness game that there is.
Which neighbor's that?
Joe, the one right down the street that just came back from. They had leased their house out for a while and came back.
Who's Joe?
His name is Joe. I'm trying not to give too many details of his.
Sorry,
but
I don't know Joe. Don't know that man. What's that thing that Kiki Palmer did? I'm sorry to that man. I don't know that man.
You know him when you see him. He's on the main street that has always had the nice grass.
Oh, all the way down there.
Yeah. Okay.
He's not our neighbor.
He is our neighbor.
He's in a whole different.
He's in the same subdivision. That's our neighbor.
That's not our neighbor. Neighbors are the people around you.
See, that's why we have to have this father-daughter talk.
Your neighbor is
in your neighborhood.
Oh.
Subdivision, neighborhood. Okay. So in both the guys and the girls brackets, 2 number 1 seeds on each bracket is gone.
Yes.
With the guys' side, it happened with a 1 against a 16. That's pretty crazy. But I think that's overall good for the college game because you got a whole bunch of mid-major squads who nobody's ever heard of, nobody knows about, but those teams are filled with 4th and 5th year seniors who have been playing together for 4 years.
Yeah.
And so they're playing so cohesively as a team.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting to see them coming out and beating at least us watching it's exciting, even though you want your team to win because the points, but it's exciting to see. I like the underdogs and the upsets and stuff.
Me too. So, kind of thing. But yeah, I like it. And maybe for the next time we'll talk about that whole how college players can get paid now and make that our introductory thing. But for March Madness, so who do you got winning on the guy's side? Taking it all.
I have Texas. We'll see how that goes.
Oh, you're a loyalist, huh? You
Well, because they've had a rough year and because their coach got fired because of that whole scandal thing, and then didn't last year their coach get fired? No, that's a different team. Lies.
No, isn't it? He's the guy that was like a rave at a mid-major.
Because his coach this year they got left came from Texas Tech.
Right, but remember it was a little guy that was at UT that came and he made big claim to fame because he
Oh, he went to Marquette and he lost too. He was number 2 and he got beat by Michigan State.
right. I was surprised he wasn't able to last long
And they
there at
said that
Texas.
he's lost like his last 8 out of 9 NCAA tournaments. So
Ah,
he might be out of a job.
hmm.
Yeah, so he
Wonder what's
hasn't. He's only won ones on in every like each team he's played with. He's only won one.
I wonder
I mean,
what's going
coached.
on. Yeah, I wonder what's going on with that.
So
Um,
I don't know what's happening
kind of
there.
thing. And then on the got girl side, I think everybody's got the same winning
South Carolina.
South Carolina. But I tell you what, there's been some barn burners on that girl side too.
Yeah, I'll probably see how because I'm pretty sure Iowa is going to meet South Carolina. I don't think they have enough to beat them,
Yeah,
but it's it should be interesting how that game will go. And then the other side, I don't even know. I picked Virginia to be in the final, but
right.
Virginia Tech, but I never even watched them play this year. I don't even know how they became number 1, but I haven't even
Yeah, but it
watched them.
happens. So we're going to talk about singleness versus alone.
Yes.
So we got what about 4 or 5 questions here we're going to deal with,
Yes.
5 or 6 or something like that. So who's? I guess you're asking me first.
Yeah. So the first question is, how is singleness a gift from God?
How is singleness a gift from God? Well, first thing I want to emphasize is that the Bible says God said it's not good for man to be alone. I want to emphasize that he did not say it's not good for man to be single.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's 4 categories that we as human beings can be in. We can be single, married, divorced, or widowed.
Yeah.
And in my coaching time, I have met people in every category who have felt alone.
Yeah.
And so it's important to understand that why everybody sees that scripture in the context of marriage, because it wasn't good for Adam to be alone.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't say it wasn't good for Adam. He said it's good for not man to be alone. And so the gift that God gives us in our singleness is understanding how do I say it? The other thing that you'll find in the Bible is that in your singleness, you really can learn how to love and learn how to be loved, because you'll never find in the Bible anywhere where it says, love your neighbor. And it doesn't say, as you love yourself.
Yeah.
So now let me see if I can make that a little plainer, and then I think I'll be done. If I lived on an island all by myself, I would never learn or know what it means to love.
Yeah.
Because you need the interaction with another person to learn how to love.
Correct.
And so the gift of singleness that God gives us is when we are in relationship with him. And in being in relationship with him, he challenges us, watch this, to love each other.
Yeah.
The gift of singleness is I learn how to love before I have expectations of somebody loving me.
That's good. Yeah. That's a good point. Because I feel like for me, even though yes, I'm single, but I feel like I've had a lot of practice because I'm an only child. So I've learned how to. I don't know if that correlates to what the whole thing is, but
I think it does.
like being alone, like I've learned to be on myself and how to, like you say, love myself, but not having to worry about anyone because I haven't had siblings to what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to think, but
But when I think about your particular journey, I think about how, first of all, you learned early in life that your name meant helper.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was because you heard that's what your name meant, or if it was more really who you are. It's kind of like the chicken or the egg, which one comes first, kind of thing. But even as you played sports, when you played basketball, you were in a giving position.
Yeah.
And that's what you thrived on. You were a point guard, and you would much rather assist than score.
Yeah, I got yelled at a lot for not scoring.
Yeah, you could have shot a whole lot more. But anyways, that's a whole nother show. But Now you tell me if I'm wrong. Players loved playing with you
Mm-hmm.
because of, watch this, what you gave.
Yeah.
You were showing them love, like they say.
Yeah.
Alexis know how to show the love.
Mm-hmm.
And so once again, the same thing happens as Christians when we understand really what Christian life is all about. It's about a life. You hear this if you've ever gone to any church service. It's about service.
Mm-hmm.
It's about and so the gift of singleness is you learn how to love others without having an expectation of getting that
Mm-hmm.
love back. And that really is a gift, because if I can love you without having expectations coming back,
Mm-hmm.
when I start having expectations of stuff coming back, my standards raise.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have, I don't just accept anything
Yeah.
because I know what I'm given.
Yeah. So I guess I'm in that point now. Like even like I'm out there on the apps and dating and whatever that you call that stuff. Like I know like being in this single time, I've figured out what I want and what I don't want.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know like when to cut people off, when it's not. So I just know like you said, like you figure out what you need and stuff like that. So I feel like yeah, like you said, singleness is learning how to love yourself and how you can portray that to
Can I also give you another suggestion of what you're learning right now? Is you're learning how to share your expectations with people.
yeah, because I feel like growing, I've always been a people pleaser, and I've never really like I've said like if I get like to a point where I'm like I can't take it anymore, yeah, I'll tell them what I need or what I want. But now I'm just like I don't care anymore. Like you need to. This is what needs to happen, and all that stuff. So,
Right, but even deeper than that. So like this whole issue of I'll save it because I think it's going to come up a little later up too. I think it's going to come up later on too. Um, but I think you think we've done a good job of dealing with single versus what's the gift that God gives us with singleness.
yeah.
Any other questions with it?
Um, no, I think that was a good point where you said that learning how to the singleness is the part where you learn how to love yourself and
By interacting with
with other people.
others.
So yeah, that's think. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a big one. So now the next one is I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever feel lonely, Lex?
Um, at times I do like when I'm always the third wheel and stuff like that. Like I can go like, oh, I wish I had someone so I won't be just the third wheel friend all the time. But like I know I have like a good support system around me, like friends, family. Like I really don't always feel only in that certain situations of being like the third wheel. But I really don't feel that lonely like ever. Even though I'm single, I know that I'm in this time for a season. I mean, I'm in this, yeah, that's right, in this time for a reason. And I just know that I have people around me where I can go to and talk to. Like, I know I have a community. I know I have friends. I know I have family. I have the right support system around me. So I know that there's no reason to feel lonely because there's those people around me. So I never feel lonely when I do get in those spots. I either go to the word and see like what's going on, or I come talk to you, or hang out with friends and get their advice about dating and stuff like that. So I feel like I have a good backbone to bounce back off of when I do get lonely. So
Right. And so what I'm hearing you say is that sometimes when you're alone, you don't like being alone.
mm-hmm.
Like you say, if there's ever a third wheel kind of situation, you
Mm-hmm.
don't like being necessarily not paired up with somebody,
Mm-hmm.
but you really don't necessarily feel lonely. You just don't like that third wheel that kind of has you alone in that
Moment.
in that moment kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I really, yeah, like I said, I really don't feel lonely because I have people around me. Like if I didn't have people, obviously I'll feel lonely. Like
Right.
I don't know how to expound on
Yeah, and
that.
but one of the things that I think a lot of people deal with is I think they equate being alone with being lonely.
mm-hmm.
And there's a difference between um, I'm alone, and I would rather have a hanging partner
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing on a deeper level.
Mm-hmm.
But I really do have a satisfying life
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so once again, I think that kind of bleeds into the first question in terms of really beginning to identify the gift that the season of singleness is.
Yeah.
In
So it
terms of
goes back to like I said, like being an only child. I'm like I was used to being alone, so like I feel like I it's just another day. Like I'll make a friend another time. Like there's no way it can happen because I don't know. It's just I don't. If that makes sense.
yeah, listen, and we've been talking a little bit, in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've been telling me there's a whole lot of folks that's trying to be friends with you and you're trying to navigate how to do that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably a whole nother show that we may do in a few weeks, that kind of thing. Um, so just to kind of put a button hook on it, what do you do when you actually are feeling lonely? What do you do? I think you've said a little bit about it already.
Like I go to y'all. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
mom and just hang out with y'all, and then or just like oh I haven't seen my friends in a while. Let me go hang out with them. I'm like just make time for other people. So I'm just not in my thoughts and in my mind and like have the enemy come in and say, oh, you're gonna be alone forever. Oh, like because when you're alone, like that's when the enemy attacks you more. So I feel like I need to be around as much people as I can. But even though I like my space, I would still want to like just when that time comes when the enemy's attacking you, you just got to find people and have a community where you can talk to them about anything and feel comfortable. So.
Yeah, it's so funny because sometimes I think you have such a mix between your mother and me
Mm-hmm.
in terms of your mom is absolutely fine being alone and enjoys it
Mm-hmm.
and values it, and you have really kind of evolved to that place.
Yeah.
And then you got old me here who
Talks to anyone and everyone.
I'll make a friend in a millisecond kind of thing. But I'm also starting to become a little bit more introverted and not as quick to do that as well. So it's just interesting how we're all influencing each other around that area,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So the next question I think you have for me.
Yeah. So why is singleness just as valid of a lifestyle as marriage?
Well, first of all, marriage is a choice,
Yeah.
and let me say it from a couple of places where I have um, I have coached people. Like there have been some people who have coached me, and they've literally come to me and says, "Listen, I asked the Lord, could I live a life of being single?"
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's so funny that the two or three people that have done it, three
Mm-hmm.
three people, every one of them come back and tell me that the Lord told them no. And so then I get a chance to kind of sit down with them and ask them, well, why do you think the Lord told you no?
Mm-hmm.
And after talking with them for a while, most of the time people want to be quote unquote alone because they got hurt somewhere else in relationship.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you begin to identify what the enemy's plan was. Because if God said it's not good to be alone, well, what do you think the enemy is constantly trying to do?
Mm-hmm.
He's constantly trying to get us alone.
Yeah.
And so to understand that then the other thing that happens is he's constantly trying to get us alone. And if we don't fully understand this whole purpose of marriage,
Mm-hmm.
then we think that it's marriage that will complete us.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing could be further from the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Marriage will not complete you, but it will create an environment where you can go to greater levels of healing.
Yeah.
But the key is you've got to understand that your healing begins the day you get saved.
Correct.
And
Mm-hmm.
so you want to live a life um, always um, looking for places that God can heal in you.
Mm-hmm.
So now, then when you understand that, then getting to the place of understanding that a single lifestyle is just as valid as a married lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
because then you begin to realize that my Christian walk, it is a walk of healing. Now, see, many churches will call it It's a life of transformation.
Mm-hmm. You're shaking the
Well,
table.
I'm sorry, and I don't think that can be seen. Hopefully, it can't be.
Mm.
But many people will talk about, over the pulpit how your Christian life is a life of transformation,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
To be transformed into the image and into the likeness of God, and that's true.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever I'm in coaching sessions, I always ask this question: can you be transformed into the image of God without getting healed?
No. No.
Right.
No.
If I am really having a genuine transformation
Mm-hmm.
into the image of God, then the broken and the wounded and the bruised places in me, they've got to get healed so that I look more like Christ.
Yeah.
Not a habit image,
Mm-hmm.
but not have any substance therein. The picture that I get is I'll never forget. Early Easter, I got the Easter basket,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw my Easter basket. I had the patented Easter bunny,
Yes.
and all I could think was, "Oh my God, I can't wait! All that chocolate is gonna be so good." And I
Mm-hmm.
bit the ear, and it was hollow,
Oh.
and I was like, "This ain't a lot of chocolate at all."
Mm-hmm.
And I think what people don't understand is that the why singleness is just as valid as a married lifestyle is if you are living as a Christian singly, then you are giving depth to the hollow places in your life, to the wounded places in your life. And so
Mm-hmm.
what becomes so valuable is in my single lifestyle, while I'm not made completely whole,
Yes.
because we'll never get completely whole,
Mm-hmm.
but I learn the discipline of what it means to get whole by being transformed into his image, i.e., by getting healed from my broken, my wounded places.
That's good.
You
Yeah.
like that one? Did I
Mm-hmm.
did I pass?
Yes.
I passed. Okay, good.
That's good. Mm-hmm.
So now I'm going to ask you. So how does being single allow you to focus on Christ more?
um, I guess it's just because being single, like I'm trying to navigate in what how I want my like Christian marriage and Christian dating experience to be. So going to the Word and find like what should be done and what shouldn't be done. So that aspect of getting closer to Him, and then as I go to the Word, it's helping me learn more about myself and what I need to work on. To like if I have some places where I'm struggling, and so just having that like that relationship with Him, just to know that finding those places in my life where I can where I feel, can open up myself, be more vulnerable to, and like in those times of where like I need to know like, oh, I need to, let me see, like for example, like I need to share more if I get more like shy or like stuff like that. So it's knowing that I can go to Him during those times, is that's what I think is bringing me closer. If that makes sense, I'm kind of rambling, but
No.
yeah.
I think it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because when and I'm going to try to tell you what I heard you say, and you
Mm-hmm.
tell me if I'm right or wrong. But when you are single
Mm-hmm.
and you're frustrated or you're irritated, because you're single, you can't the enemy can't make you think, well, it's the person you're with,
Yeah.
right? You
Mm-hmm.
you you're like, okay, well, it's got to be something I got to be dealing with,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing, or like you say, you got a coworker that's getting on your nerves,
Mm-hmm.
um, and we all have people,
Mm-hmm.
once again, that we will work with or whatever it may be, that get on our nerves.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth be told is, they're not doing it with the objective to get on your nerves,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if I'm a Christian, then I start saying, well, why is that getting on my nerves so much?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. But
Mm-hmm.
if it was somebody that I was in relationship with, You getting on my nerves. You
Yeah. Yeah.
and I can stay
Mm-hmm.
focused on you being on my
Mm-hmm.
nerves rather than go, well, what's going on with me today gets on my nerves.
Yeah. So just being alone, not alone, but being single, I feel like I'm more not open, but like I'm willing to go to God more, and then helps me. So when I do get in a relationship, it's easier for us to both go to God, and I can bring something to the table, I guess, to help him and in that sort. So that's why I feel like single allows you to be closer to God, because you're just always getting answers from him. So it's
Oh
just
my goodness, you need to say that again.
what I say.
It-
I don't know. It was all a blur.
she said what I say. When you are learning how to go to God with your questions,
Mm-hmm.
which means you're learning how to build a relationship with him,
Mm-hmm.
which means you're not just learning how to talk to him, you're learning how to hear from him.
Yeah.
So many
Mm-hmm.
people talk about I go to prayer, and I say, well, what did the guy say to you? And they look at me like, huh? Yeah, yeah. When you're praying, that's a communication. That's a back and forth. Yeah, but so when you identify how you can get healed, delivered, and set free in a single place,
Mm-hmm.
you're learning how to build your relationship with God. So now when I've got a partner with me
Mm-hmm.
and they're struggling, and I know that I'm not their savior,
Yeah.
and I know that I can't fix them, and I know that I don't, but I've had these experiences where I've been healed and I've been fixed and I've been,
Mm-hmm.
listen here, this is how we gonna do it. Let's go.
Yeah.
And then, when you come tell me what he told you,
Mm-hmm.
it takes so much pressure off relationships when the two people understand, one, we're
Mm-hmm.
broken,
Yes.
and two, he's going to fix us,
Yeah.
and three, with the word of God, we can help each other hear from God in the places that we need to get fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It is really so good. Now that can happen just as friends,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? It
Mm-hmm.
really can happen. But I don't care what you say. There are certain places, I don't care how close a friend you are to me,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to get as I'm not going to be as intimate with you as I am with God and as I am with my wife.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not going to happen. And I can have really, really good friends.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife will tell me all the time, Gavin, you talk too much. And then I'll tell her, but there's some stuff I ain't talked about. And she'll go, oh, I say, yeah. So there is this line that is open as I may appear to be.
Mm-hmm.
There are still certain things that only God knows that I've talked to him about.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another list of things that only my wife knows that I've talked to God about.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But I practiced on these lesser intense places
Mm-hmm.
and had some success with it. Ooh, see, you about to get me excited. You better stop messing with me. Um, um, but yeah, that becomes really, really powerful for me.
Mm-hmm.
Is once I understand, and I often talk about the purpose of marriage on my podcast and stuff like that. But the purpose of marriage really is the same as the purpose of Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, ask me how. Go ahead, you wanted to ask me how.
How, Father?
Yeah, but like, and so my favorite scripture around marriage is the Ephesians 5:25.
Mm-hmm.
Husband, love your wives like Christ loved the church. Let me stop
Yes.
right there. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So as a husband, I'm supposed to love my wife like Christ loved the church.
Yes.
Well, before I was a husband, I was a part of the church.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And if I effectively learned, watch this, how God loved me as a member of the church.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you say to me that I'm supposed to love my wife that way, okay, I know what that looks like.
Yeah.
But I know what it looks like from the receiving end.
Mm.
So now I got to figure out how to do it on the giving end.
Mm-hmm.
And then what will probably have to happen is I may have to show my wife, how do you become a giver of that?
Mm-hmm.
because now you get to be you get to minister to me as the church.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It becomes
Mm.
so powerful,
No.
so powerful. And the thing I love about that the most, Lex, is that I can bring all of my real self to you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I
Mm.
know you can't fix me, right?
Yeah.
And you know I can't fix you.
Mm-hmm.
But because we know somebody who can fix it all,
Yeah.
right? So if I'm struggling with anything,
Mm-hmm.
the key is do I have a place that's safe enough for me to share? Watch
Yeah.
this. Watch what I do. Is there a room?
Oh gosh.
Is there room? Is there a room that I
Mm.
feel safe enough to share that?
Yeah. 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 That's the big. That's big.
But so often we can't even talk about the room because people don't understand that principle of the gift of singleness.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand that that's where you learn how to heal with God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good.
Listen, you better we better move on to the next one because I'm getting excited.
Okay.